Hello. Scotto.
Man, it is just impossible to get a decent sleep around here.
It is time. The Yakuza have been waiting.
You're part of the Yakuza now? Well, you certainly get around, don't you?
Well, I am a highly sought after henchman. I worked up the ranks.
Whoa. You're an idiot, aren't you?
I could kill you right now.
You know, I didn't expect a henchman to dress so...
Like what? You say it! Say it now!
fashionable.
Why, thank you. I do try. Get out of bed!
Yeah, alright. I mean, it's not a bad idea. Jeez.
Red Steel. Oh boy, Red Steel. Well, this one was a long time coming, and to make it particularly special, I held off playing it for a long time. Trust me, I tried my best to avoid this game. I flushed it down the toilet, but it somehow found its way back to me. No thanks to a certain friend of mine. But it's time to take a look at yet another Wii launch title, Red Steel. So I popped the game into my totally normal and not at all tampered with Wii, where we're met with a pretty basic disc channel intro, which is fine. Launch title games didn't tend to have the most eccentric disc channel intros, so I'll let it slide since this was par for the course at the time. Games like Let's Tap still put so many other games to shame in this regard though. I accidentally left the intro screen on for too long and got treated to an advertisement trailer for Red Steel in the game. So it's a trailer for the game inside the game.
Be sure to click the link on screen to take you to the exact same video you're already watching.
I can tell they tried so hard with the menu of this game to make it seem unique and have this bright neon style based on sounds you typically see throughout busy city areas of Tokyo. I appreciate they went to such great lengths for the sake of presentation, but it's just weird. There are those neon signs at the side of the screen which each represent a menu option. You hover over it with your cursor, press A to grab it, then hover over this TV screen, I think? LED sign? I'm really not sure, and that activates the menu option, and it's just a mess. This whole screen is just sensory overload and makes everything more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, I get it was Wii launch title, so they were like, yo dudes, check out these rad features only available on the Wii, such as annoying menus, because who needs normal buttons? Forget it. Let's make our profile and get into the actual game.
So, what is it with you and menus, huh? What's your deal?
Look, can we just not? Like, seriously. I've had enough of this.
The game boots up with this image of a guy, with a gun, sitting with some sort of geisha girl in his lap, as a CD loading graphic spins in the corner. Seeing this kind of loading graphic, I feel like I'm booting some kind of old PC game or PS1 game.
Oh, look at these fish, Scott. Aren't they pretty? Scott, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yes, the main character of this game is named Scott, which can lead to some weird moments for me since, in case you're unaware, my real name is Scott, and this game led some of my friends in real life to refer to me as Scotto, thanks to this one guy.
Let's do some shooting practice, Scotto.
Even though this guy has caused me to have the nickname Scotto since 2006, I actually quite like him. You're alright.
And of course, it's opening the floodgates to many more people taking to call me Scotto. I may as well just accept my fate.
Yes, Scotto, or Scottio, or Scotto Scott, Scott.
So we play as a bodyguard to the lovely Miyu Sato, who also happens to be Scott's fiancée, and the game opens in a hotel as Miyu and Scott have arrived to meet with Miyu's father, Isao Sato, when suddenly things go awry as a gang disguised as the hotel staff opens fire on Sato and his men, and we're thrown into the action by being knocked out by one of the gang members. Awakening shortly after, where the game properly begins, you go to find Miyu, who then gets captured by a man called Ryuichi, who is one of her father's friends who turned traitorous, and the rest of the game you're essentially chasing Miyu down. Why do they have Miyu? As leverage to her father's legendary sword, the Katana Giri. So our main character, Scott Monroe, takes up a gun and sword to recover his fiancée, and in doing so, becomes a katana pro with a tiny crash course from Mr. Sato, and is able to dispatch pros in no time. Now to discuss what makes the Wii such an interesting system. How does Red Steel control? It's worth reminding that Red Steel was a launch title. This meant they had to try hard to innovate with the control since the Wii at the time was so new and Red Steel was one of the first of its kind. Prior to this, there had been no consoles with the kind of capabilities of the Wiimote and Nunchuck, so Nintendo pushed developers to make the most of these features. This comes across very strongly just in the menu alone.
What was that about a menu?
There's nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, let's just get straight to the controls and not focus on anything we've already covered. Red Steel utilizes both the Wiimote and Nunchuck, and you move with the analog stick on the Nunchuck and aim with the Wiimote and its IR sensor. You shoot with B, reload by shaking the Nunchuck or pressing right on the D-pad. You can also shake the Nunchuck to attack with your blade. This is a context-sensitive action though. You change your weapons with the left on the D-pad, you can focus your aim by holding A, which helps you spot enemies easier. You can also zoom in closer while holding A by moving the Wiimote forward, which can help you get enemies who are a bit further away. You can jump with the C button, crouch with Z, and you can also slow down time and focus while holding A and pressing C. I feel like when I list controls, it's hard for people to keep track of everything I say, but I trust you get the idea. The controls make sense for the most part and feel pretty natural, but as is typical with motion controls, it has a few issues. First of all, the aiming. Now the Wiimote's IR sensor is one of the stronger features of the Wii. It generally works well, but varies from developer to developer. The main problem anyone tends to have is with the distance of your sensor bar. Being slightly too far away can have that jittery movement.
You want to try?
Man, what is wrong with you? What happened? No, we sucks!
A simple no would have sufficed.
Fine, no!
Aiming can feel weird, but it works for the most part, but sometimes feels like it just becomes awkward and imprecise for seemingly no reason. The sensitivity of the aiming can actually be changed in the menu. I just keep it on medium though. I feel like any more or any less would be way too far. I mean, it's difficult enough to aim as it is. You can tell, however, they were really trying to utilise all the Wiimote had to offer, with a little bit of visual flares, and I kind of like it. You can tilt the Wiimote and you'll change the orientation of your gun. This only works with pistols, but it means you can hold your gun sideways like a badass. Shooting itself feels messy and chaotic because when you're shooting at enemies, they never react. You get a little haptic feedback from the Wiimote, but that's about it. The gun feels meaty and powerful when you shoot it, but then you realise it takes a bunch of hits to kill an enemy, and since you get no real feedback, it can feel like your shots aren't even hitting. It's just frustrating. Movement feels sluggish and makes you beg for a sprint button, and since you move so slowly, you constantly feel vulnerable when in large open spaces away from cover, because Red Steel is not a game about technique or fair challenge. It's a game where you hide behind something, jump out, kill one guy, run back to cover with barely any health left, and then let it recharge. This to me doesn't scream good design, and this game commits one of the biggest gaming sins of all time. Take a look.
About the mess over at the garage?
Did you see the problem? Here, let me show you one more time to see if you understand.
Hey, did you hear about the mess over at the garage?
It replays the cutscene when you revive at certain checkpoints. The worst part about this is that I died at this section a bunch of times. Why? Because it all comes down to trial and error. It's not a fair challenge, you have to wrestle with the damn motion controls to aim, which takes way longer than you would like in any decent shooter, because the IR sensor feels so sluggish, and holding A while moving the Wiimote forward is the most uncomfortable thing to do, which adds on to the imprecise aiming. It's a damn nightmare. Not to mention, it felt like every time I sat down to play this game, I ended it with an aching wrist from having to aim so damn much. This game just throws so much at you and makes trying to get through it a chore. I imagine most people would hit this point and just give up. I mean, look, I'm trying my best, I really am, but it's just...
I don't care, I'm getting paid regardless.
When you get a bit deeper into the game, you begin to pick up new skills, which makes things a bit easier. You learn new sword attacks like the hammer when sword fighting, or the focus attack which slows down time and lets you select targets and hit the targets when you exit focus. You can even shoot the gun out of an enemy's hand then wave vertically like,
Put it down, and nobody has to get shot in the damn head! I see the irony in this situation, I really do.
This lets you spare the enemy, which I'll talk about a bit later. Regardless, it's a layer of originality that spawned from the focus and motion controls, and these features do make the game feel a bit easier as you have more ways to deal with waves of enemies, but you have to wade through so much of the same tedious crap to get to these skills. Red Steel is a fairly typical FPS, but its whole personality comes from the motion controls. Back in the day, I remember being able to tolerate it way more, since motion controls were new and interesting. The sword combat felt engaging and appropriate, but now I realise just how trash it really is. I mean seriously, let's talk about the sword fighting, as it's pretty crucial to the game. You'll hit areas where you encounter someone with a sword or other kind of weapon that isn't a gun, typically a baseball bat, and these sections are fine to begin with and don't pose too much of a challenge. But then, as you get further along, not only do the enemies get more challenging by throwing in new attacks like heavy swings which are unable to parry, and faster attacks, but it throws in something unexpected. Lag. I mean, it's not uncommon for this game, it lags all the damn time and barely manages to maintain a steady 30 FPS, especially later in the game. The first few levels are pretty well optimized, but I guess they got a bit ambitious with the size and scope of the levels later on. But during the sword sections, this can be particularly nightmarish, since timing is key when it comes to these fights. You can get perfect parries, which leaves the enemy open to attacks, and you need to be on guard to dodge heavy attacks, which is almost impossible when all your inputs are delayed by the lag. And of course, the extra delay from the motion controls actually picking up on your movements, it becomes frustrating very fast. One more issue I had, and this just might be me, but I think my nunchuck's motion controls aren't as good as they used to be.
I only have one nunchuck, and it's the same one I got with my Wii 10 years ago. Man, 10 years.
Wait. Just how old are you? Really?
Old enough.
The sword fighting ties into a feature in the game called respect points. You gain these by performing certain actions such as special sword attacks called sword katas, and basically sparing as many lives as possible, since at the end of the sword fight you can choose to finish your opponent off or let them live. Generally, it's more beneficial for you to let them live, unless you said something which really rubbed you the wrong way, suppose for example like making fun of how you say the word garage, in which case crack them in a damn face! I wish I could enjoy these sword fighting sections overall, but they just come with too many issues and the lag is the real killer. I mean, there is a reason this game struggles to run smoothly, and it's the intensity of the graphics. Now, Red Steel is not the best looking game ever, it doesn't look much better than a game like James Bond Nightfire. Textures are muddy, characters look sort of off, and I swear every time you see a character move, it's like the game is lagging. They clearly tried to make this game stand out in some areas graphically. You get some volumetric lighting effects with the light rays streaming in from windows, and some nice reflective surfaces, but I almost wish they hadn't gone to the trouble, since it seriously impacts the stability and playability of the game itself. And one thing about this game which annoys the hell out of me, why is it so damn dark? Seriously, there are some areas of the game which are just black. It's clearly because the shadows have been painted directly onto the level's textures, so you're left with corners which are just blocks of solid black, and it can really feel disorienting navigating really dark areas. To make things worse, some areas are really dark with super bright whites. It's such a harsh contrast that it messes with my eyes and makes the game unpleasant to look at. The levels try to mix things up as your chase to track down your fiancé puts you in some strange situations. You start out in a luxury hotel, you move on to some club, and then to a garage.
Why do people enjoy the way I say garage?
You mean garage?
No, I do not mean garage!
You mean garage!
Somehow along the way you end up in a factory filled with trash and lava, and you ride a super long elevator because you're somehow underground now. I mean, I'll give credit where it's due, they tried pretty hard to mix up the levels. I will say, however, if there is one area the game succeeds in, it's the music department, with tracks featuring heavy rock and hints of Japanese instruments to add to the setting. The music is fast-paced and energetic. This track in particular is one of my favourites. Not only the music is decent, but the sound effects are alright too. All guns sound how you think they would, and environment audio design works in its favour, but the characters... oh god, the characters. Most characters' voice acting is okay, nothing mind-blowing, every character's voice performance is fine. My main issue lies with the standard enemies. So many of them use the same voice over and over, and there's only so many times I can bear Yuri Lowenthal spouting, "Stop, you bastard!" without it becoming grating. And the worst part is you often hear that same line said a bunch of times in close proximity. It's just silly. For a Wii launch title, I think Red Steel accomplished what it set out to do, make an FPS which utilised the motion controls to try and add a level of immersion previously unseen from a home console. But it's riddled with problems, and the motion controls, rather than add a new level of interest, just piles on more frustration, making simple tasks like attacking with a damn sword nowhere near worth the effort.
There! I did it. I played goddamn Red Steel. You satisfied?
I just wanted to see you suffer before I put you down. Bonjour. Yes. See, oui. But he's right here in front of me. Okay, Okay. Fine. God damn it. You're free to go.
What? Really? Why?
The boss has other plans.
Wait, boss?
Yeah, turns out he enjoys watching you play these Wii games. Keep it up. Good work and whatever. Do свидания.
Wait, watching?
Hey, and thank you for watching. This video took a bit longer to come out as I've been working hard to get ahead with videos to try and keep to more of an upload schedule. 2017 should be a good year if all goes to plan. In the meantime, why not check out some of my older videos you see linked on screen now. You can also follow me on Twitter at UnlikelyYuusha, and if you're interested in supporting the show and getting access to exclusive updates and early viewings of videos, please consider supporting me on Patreon. As little as $1 can contribute to me achieving my dream of doing YouTube as a full-time job. With the effort I put in, it sometimes feels that way already. Either way, thank you for watching. Until next time.
Welcome to Jamming Time with Ivan. I love it.